and definitely are thankful for you to be here today and appreciate you so very much here inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. We have two awesome guests set up for you today. You know that Papa Joe is here with us every Thursday, and last week we were down with Papa Joe and MT and the family, my big brother Joey and everyone down in the great state of Florida, and now PJ is back here with us on the airwaves. So Papa Joe joining us in just a few moments to speak on Major League Baseball signings, including Mr. Juan Soto signing for just a little bit more money than what I pay Papa Joe to be on the broadcast. And we'll also get into the bowl season, the Army-Navy game, the fact that there's a bunch of bowl games that are happening already, folks. So buckle up, Buttercup, because we got bowl games going on, and they officially start this Saturday, December 14th. They start on the same day as the Army-Navy game. We have the Cricket Celebration Bowl. We have the IS-4S Salute to Veterans Bowl. Then we have the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl and the Boca Raton Bowl, which Syracuse was in last year, the Art of Sport LA Bowl, and the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl are all the games that PJ and I are going to talk about between now and next Thursday. They're going to be going on. We're going to be predicting them today. We're also going to talk about the Army-Navy game. Bill Belly's going to North Carolina and what that means for me in my coverage of the ACC and what that could be. So we got a lot of great stuff coming up. We'll, of course, get into our NFL picks as well. And at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Chris Heidel of HerbFM Sports Radio will be joining me to speak on his experience of covering the ACC championship game between SMU and Clemson. We'll also talk about Bill Belichick with him, and him being a Mets fan, we'll get his thoughts on Juan Soto. So with that being said, PJ, how we doing?
Morning, Daniel. It's a little chilly down here. Got down to 45 last night. That's cold for us.
Yeah. Well, cold for you down there. Up here in central and upstate New York, we got snow on the ground this morning. YouTube.com, Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. That's how you connect with us here on the show worldwide, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And it was a little chilly when I was down in Florida this past week with my dad. A little bit of chill out there, definitely at night. It did warm up as the week went on, though, and I'm not going to complain because the sun was shining throughout our trip down in Florida, and I can't be more thankful for that, as well as the time I got to spend with Papa Joe and MT and Joey and the fam. So definitely means a lot to me to be down there and be able to spend some time. It had been a minute for me, so it was good to finally get back down there. PJ, as we get rocking and rolling with this, the first thing I want to get into is to get your thoughts on what's been going on with Major League Baseball free agency. Benny Snell, a Cy Young pitcher, is now a Dodger. I didn't know they had any more money left to spend, but apparently they do. So he is now a Dodger. And on top of him being a Dodger, we're looking at the fact that Juan Soto is just, he's staying in that New York area. He's staying in the state of New York. He's just switching boroughs. He's going from the Bronx to Queens. So I'd love to get your thoughts on Benny Snell and Juan Soto in these two giant splashes that have happened in the offseason so far.
Well, the money, it's phony money. I don't know how these guys can keep doing this. Juan Soto, $765 million. Are you serious? Come on. It's getting to a point where the baseball fans are being a little tuned off. I am, but I love baseball and I'm going to keep watching it. But I can't see how they get away with this. I know you've always heard me talk about the cable contracts for the major cities. Well, they must have some serious ones in LA because they got some serious players now. I mean, I don't know how you beat LA, but Juan Soto is probably what I guess we call a generational talent, just like Aaron Boone is. So I guess him going to the Mets is probably going to boost them up a little bit. If they keep Pete Alonso, they got to do that. They need a little bit more pitching. But I went through the free agent signings, and I got some here that I can comment on.
Yeah.
I didn't put all of those down because there's just too many of them. The ones I think are important for the teams that are really look to play better baseball, not just hang on. I got Garrett Crochet, who was one of my favorite pitchers from White Sox, goes to the Red Sox. It was a free agent signing. Crochet had a 3.58 ERA last year. Now don't say that's real bad. It is not very good, but you got to remember he was with the White Sox, who lost 100 million games. So, you can probably reduce that by one full run. He really is an excellent pitcher. Jake Berger goes from Miami to Texas Rangers at 29 homers, 76 RBIs, 250 average. Big time hitter. Texas needs more big time hitters, considering they're in a very difficult conference. Nathan Eovaldi re-signed with Texas, 3 years, $75 million. Nathan had a 12-8 record last year, 3.80 ERA. New York Yankees made a real serious move here to get Max Fried from Atlanta.
Yeah.
8 years, $218 million for a left-handed pitcher that last year, now this is in Atlanta, who had a great season. He was 10-10 with a 3.25 ERA. And he gets $218 million to go to bring his left arm to the New York Yankees. Positively mind-boggling, folks. That boggles the mind. I mean, talk about monopoly money. We talked about Juan Soto in his 15-year, $765 million contract. 41 homers, 109 RBIs, 288 ER batting average. I guess he's worth some money, but I don't know if he's worth that kind of money. My Brewers had to give up Wally Damas, went to San Francisco. He's a free agent, 7 years, $182 million. He had 32 homers, 112 RBIs, and a 247 ERA. 247 batting average. Again, folks, I love my Brewers, but I'm not sure that the Brewers would even pay that kind of money to keep him. Clay Holmes from the Yankees made some news. He goes to the Mets. 3-year, $38 million contract with 3-5 with a 1.30 ERA. He was the best reliever the Yankees had. Now the Mets, in all their infinite wisdom, are going to try him as a starter. Now, if you've got a reliever who's a shutdown reliever with a 1.30 ERA, why do you want to mess with him as a starter? But that's we'll talk about in a couple months. Luis Severino, the Athletics, signed 3 years, $67 million. It was 11-7 with a 3.91 ERA. Luis Severino's bounced around a little bit, but he's still a strong, big guy. He's a guy that can give you more innings. He's not one of these little lily five-inning pitchers. He's a big, strong guy that can go 6 or 7 innings. The Dodgers, you talked about Blake Snell, 5-year, $182 million. 5-3 with a 3.12 ERA. Now, Blake Snell is nasty. Now, I'm telling you that for sure. Blake Snell is famously nasty, and I watched him when he was with Tampa Bay. Along with L.A., Edmund re-signs with them, 3 years, $74 million contract. Remember, he was brought in with a trade. I forgot who he was. I can't remember who it was. But he can play any position, and he's a utility guy. And they give him $74 million on 3 years for a utility guy. All right. Now we got Michael Wacha from Kansas City, 3 years, $51 million. Now Michael's a serious pitcher too. He's 13-8, 3.35 ERA. Michael can go late innings for you too. He'll get in 6 or 7 innings. So there's just a few that I've talked about, Daniel. There's several other, but these are the ones I think are going to make the biggest impact.
Yeah, like you said, and I appreciate you going through it and talking about a bunch of these different ones with us here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I mean, we're looking at the fact that obviously baseball here for 2025 is going to be changing, but the rich get richer when we look at the Dodgers, and I sit here and I think to myself, how much money does this Dodgers team, how much do they have? It's been, I mean, they spent over $1 billion on 3 players last season, and now you bring in a guy like Benny Snell, And then you look at the Mets, and we know that the Mets had money to spend, and we know that the Mets were going to make moves. And I mean, we see these things that are going on, PJ. The Dodgers, to see what they've done, to see them win a World Series. Now they have Benny Snell. I mean, on paper, can anybody stop the Dodgers?
Probably not, but Blake Snell can really shore up the pitching. The Dodgers, I'm reading some things that I'm not really happy about. Walker Buehler, I don't think is going to be hanging around with the Dodgers. I think that he's going to go elsewhere. The Dodgers are making a strong enough move to keep him. Clayton Kershaw, of course, he's a Hall of Famer, Cy Young Award winner. Probably one of the better pitchers in our lifetime. But he's at the twilight of his career. And, with Blake Snell, when he was signed, he asked one thing of the owners of Dodgers. He says, sir, I'll sign with you, but I got to have a locker right next to Clayton Kershaw. I thought that was cool. And they did. They're going to give him a locker right next to Clayton Kershaw. So if you're Blake Snell, you're going to be listening to Clayton Kershaw on what's happening. So we talk about funny money and monopoly money, Daniel. These guys make a lot of money. Getting back to Juan Soto, Steve Cohen is the owner of the Mets, who just bought him last year. Now he was one of these high fund managers from New York City. He's got a ton of money, and I heard him once. He says, "If I want a player, I'm not going to get outbid for him. I want the player," and he obviously outbid, and he got him for stupid money,
Yeah, and part of me for saying Benny Snell is a running back, NFL player, I believe, but Blake Snell. So my apologies on that. Speaking on Blake Snell, what about the Juan Soto piece of it for you, PJ? To go a little bit deeper into that, Juan Soto switching boroughs there. I can't imagine that Yankees fans are going to be nice to him when they play the Subway Series. I'd love to get your thoughts on it, to switch the Yankee pinstripes for the Met pinstripes, to go a little bit more inside of that. Juan Soto deciding that he would rather be a Met, maybe for the rest of his career, than to be a Yankee for 5 more minutes. What are your thoughts?
Well, Juan is, Juan's a showboat. He's out there and he's prancing around, and I like it when he's at bat, and he's battling the pitcher, and he'll take a ball or something like that. He'll crouch down a little bit, and look at the pitcher, kind of hot dogging it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yankees, the fans loved it. The only problem with Juan is he's going to be playing right field at Yankee Stadium. And that is not a friendly field. They're right close to everything. The right field at Yankees only 315 down the line. That's a pop fly for some of these guys. So he's going to be right down there in the pit of some nasty people. So good luck with that one.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely going to be interesting, but we know that no matter what borough you're in the state of New York, you are definitely going to hear from people. So Steve Cohen did not just buy the Mets last year, so Greg's saying that. But, the Mets spending a lot of money out here and making the moves that they're making when it comes to Juan Soto. Hopefully, potentially, a big powerhouse move for them. I do want to stick on this for a second, though, PJ, with the Mets, is as we look to where the Mets are right now, Pete Alonso is still out there. Is Pete Alonso going to be a Met again? Will he stay a Met with Juan Soto, or do you think that Pete's going to go elsewhere?
Well, I guess the Mets have been real tepid in approaching this, and maybe it's because Alonso wants to hear some offers out there. But typically, when you set up a baseball team, you like sluggers from the right side, you like sluggers from the left side. Well, Soto was a left-handed pitcher or a left-handed hitter, and Alonso was a right-handed hitter. So if you're looking to flip-flop them in the order, whether Alonso's 3 and Soto 4, or vice versa, you like that contrast. So I'm thinking now that they'll give it some serious talk with Pete, so he can fit into that slot that I was just talking about. The Mets are going to be a difficult team to pitch to, especially with these two guys in the lineup, if Pete Alonso signs with them. So you got Soto on the left side, Pete Alonso on the right side, and that's pretty nasty when you're a pitcher trying to get them out.
Yeah, so I mean, it'll be interesting to see what the Mets eventually decide to do here with Pete Alonso. But as it stands right now, we're awaiting to see what's going to happen. Pete Alonso was allegedly offered a deal in the offseason that he did not take from the New York Mets, and now that Juan Soto is a part of this team, does Pete Alonso find his place? And knowing how big the bank account is for the New York Mets, does Pete Alonso say, okay, well, now that I've seen this contract with Juan Soto, he's a new Met. I've been a Met, so now I want more money. So we'll see what happens here as far as this goes. I think Pete Alonso is going to end up staying a Met, honestly. But going back to the Juan Soto deal, 15 years, $765 million contract. And so looking at this, it is insane, the amount of money here. And so the deal contains a full no-trade clause, a $75 million signing bonus, an opt-out after 5 seasons, and no deferred money. The Mets can void Soto's opt-out clause after the 2029 season if they boost the average annual value of the final 10 years of his deal from $51 million a year to $55 million a year. And in that case, the overall deal would be for 15 years, $805 million. So it would actually go up. So he has that opt-out clause, and if they want to get rid of it, they have to give him more money. So in order to take away his opt-out clause, they have to boost him up $55 million a year from $51 million a year. Absolutely bonanza money over here. And seeing this happen, I mean, it begs the question, who has the deepest pockets in the state of New York now if the Yankees are seeing the Mets spend $51 million on a player? So absolutely incredible. We'll see what happens from here. PJ and I got a lot of talk to talk about. We're going to get into Bill Belichick going to North Carolina and joining the Tar Heels, which means, by the grace of God, I will be interviewing Bill Belichick at least once a season. So some cool things coming up here. And my guy Scott Frost did something that was Christmas come early, in my opinion. Scott Frost, former UCF head football coach, led them to an undefeated season, and a season where I feel like they should have been in the college football playoff. Scott Frost went back to his alma mater where he played quarterback and was there at Nebraska. Nebraska let him go in 2022 early on in the season, and now Scott Frost, with everything that's happened at UCF over the years, with Gus Malzahn deciding to be the offensive coordinator of FSU and leave his post as the head coach of UCF, we now have Scott Frost. Some way, somehow, somewhere, somebody put a prayer out there, somebody made a wish. I think it was my buddy Jason Lucas, and now Scott Frost is back at UCF. We'll talk about the homecoming for Scott Frost, as well as my guy Mackenzie Milton, and we'll also get into Bill Bellies going over to North Carolina, and now the Tar Heels get to hear a man mumble for a little while. That's all coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Stay with us. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McInerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Bryan and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Bryan and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there's something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There was a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There was a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience. It's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really change the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allowing customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servamation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machine, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machine. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. And in a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we're back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and I got to give a shout out to MT. So, a Merry Christmas to MT, PJ's better half. So, definitely have to send that over. We're talking to MT off the air here, and she's out here doing her thing, running around. She's got PJ working, I hope. So, some good. But yeah, Merry Christmas to MT, and wonderful soul, a beautiful soul out there that continues to help people. That's what she was doing today. It's what she does every day. So shout out to MT and to those angels that God puts out here on this earth for us, including Miss MT. And to all of you out there, a very early Merry Christmas to you, but a Merry Christmas nonetheless. Papa Joe and I are here hanging out on the airwaves around the country and the world. And PJ, it's time to talk about Bill Belichick and our thoughts on the bellies here. So Bill Belichick making his move, and he is now going back into coaching. I believe he's 72 years old. And so here's the thing for the North Carolina fans that were like, why would you get Mac Brown back? Mac Brown was the coach here before. He's older. He retired. You unretired him. Well, Bill Belichick is older, and he retired, and people are unretiring him. So we'll see what's going on here with this. So this is definitely interesting here. Greg put out a thing, said, I'm just happy North Carolina went with a younger head coach compared to Coach Brown, which is going off my point. Some sarcasm there. Safe to assume Steve Belichick's going to join the staff at North Carolina. Yeah, and I did hear some things about the plan of Bill Belichick going to North Carolina could open the door for his son to take over because, Bill Belichick, I can't imagine is going to be coaching there for a very long time, maybe a few seasons, we shall see. But, to the fans from the outside looking in, they might have thought we got Mac Brown for 2 to 3 years and he's older, and now it's Bill Belichick. We got him for maybe 2 to 3 years and he's older. So, I mean, my whole thing is I don't believe in ageism. If you can go out there and do your thing, you should. And so when people are like, oh, he's 72 years old, he's washed up, he's too old, da-da-da. When you're 72 years old, tell me how you feel if somebody says that about you. But I'm looking at this comparison, and people thought Mac Brown, he's older, he's not going to coach that long. And they might be thinking the same thing about Bill Belichick after Mac Brown was let go. But, PJ, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. And, Kevin, I saw your comment come in here, and we'll get to that in a second about Kyle McCord. But your thoughts, PJ, about Bill Belichick and about what's going on in this world of Mac Brown unretiring to be the head coach, and now Bill Belichick at North Carolina unretiring to be the head coach.
Well, I've been telling you the last month or so, my pundits down here were saying that the BB was heading for Jacksonville because of our generational talent. We have a quarterback, and I guess those rumors are unfounded. So to answer your question, this is a tough one for me to figure. Although he does have a 5-year deal for who knows how much money per year. It's certainly going to be $10 million or so, or thereabouts. And I know he wants to bring his son Steven. Apparently, I think he's a defensive coordinator at the University of Washington. So I'm thinking, first of all, he will bring him in as a defensive coordinator. That's for sure. And I don't, like you mentioned, I don't think he'll last to 5 years. I think maybe if he's off to a good start and he's got the program solid, and after a couple of years, maybe he'll, give it over to Steven. So, in 72, and in the rigors of college football and traveling for recruiting and things like that, that's hard on an older guy. So, this is what I've read that he said. He's going to, this is a college we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
He's going to run a pro program that entails training, nutrition, scheming, coaching, and techniques that will lead to the NFL. Those are his words, identical.
Yeah.
Nowhere that I read or hear about these kids going to school.
Yeah.
But he's got a pro program for training, nutrition, scheming, coaching, and techniques that will translate to the NFL. Bill, they got to go to college. They got to get it. They got to go to class, Bill. I mean, maybe you could put that class 101 or something like that in there. That boggled my mind. And the more I had to read it again, and that's exactly what he said. So you and I bitch about all the time about these kids not going to school. They transfer from one. You can transfer 4 times and probably still have a year of eligibility left. I can't handle it, Daniel. Not that. I know he's a great coach, and he's much smarter than anyone else, and so on and so on and so on. But for him to list those things and say that it would translate to the NFL, forget about college. Forget about these kids going to school.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, and you mentioned it, kind of reading through the lines of it is looking at the fact of, okay, you're going to put together this program. You're going to, make it professional worthy like the NFL, but what about the school side of it? And some people laugh that off now, and that's, to me, it's after football, you got to have a plan. After football, after sports, you have to have a plan. And, hopefully he'll help them to do that. Obviously, he wants to win. He's not going to go to a place where he thinks he can't. And Greg put a nice joke together. Surrounding yourself with youth makes you younger. Ask his girlfriend. Well, Greg, I need to ask Bill Belichick how he finds a 24-year-old because I'm closer in age to her than he is by almost 40 years. But, yeah, I don't know. If it's love, then great. Happy for Bill. Happy for Belichick. But him going to North Carolina, interesting thing here is that I cover the ACC, as you all know, of over a decade. And in covering the ACC, I cover every team. So that's 18 schools when you include Notre Dame for everything but football. And now I'll have the opportunity to interview Bill Belichick, which I think is God's humor, because I've made jokes about stuff in the past of that opportunity. And here we are with the, crossing of paths where I'll have with Bill Belichick to be able to speak with him. So I'm looking forward to it. He's been a part of 8 Super Bowls, 6 with the Patriots, and 2 as an assistant coach with the New York Giants. So that's huge. And definitely, I put a poll up. I asked y'all what you thought about Bill Belichick, your reaction with him being the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. 61.9% of you told me that you love the move. 14.3% said you like it. 14.3% said you dislike it. And only 9.5% said you strongly dislike it. So over half of the people that have voted so far on X at CallDT, that's CALLDT, have told me that they love it, what's going on here with Bellies at North Carolina. Now, the other one that I have to talk with you about takes us down to Orlando, where I just was post up for over a week. And that move has the UCF Knights going back to Mr. Scott Frost. He was there a few seasons ago. I was there with him. I was covering UCF all the way through. I spoke with Coach Frost more than once, and I spoke with Coach Frost at his final press conference there, where his face was pink, his ears were filled with tears, her eyes were filled with tears, pardon me, and we were sitting there with our ears, hearing him talk about this team who had just won an AAC championship. Yet it seemed like the emotions of the moment were beyond simply the game. And it was one of the most clear moments in my history where I realized the business side of sports. Seeing UCF defeat Memphis in the bounce house in Orlando, and then having that press conference, speaking with Scott Frost, seeing his emotions, seeing his tears, seeing that there looked like there was something else on his mind. And I went upstairs with the rest of the media, and we were writing our game stories, going through our stuff, going through the interviews we've done. And as we were doing that, we had somebody come upstairs, and they said to us, "We're going to have a press conference in about 45 minutes. And if you'd like to, you got to come downstairs for it." And we went right back to the room where Scott Frost had just talked about his team winning the AAC championship. And within an hour later, Danny White, the AD at the time at UCF, was talking about the fact that Scott Frost had decided to leave. That's how quick it happened. That's how clear you see the business side of things. A coach crying, emotional, happy for his team, a man who fell in love with the city of Orlando, and a man who an hour later was gone, off to Nebraska. And then in a beautiful turn of events, as Gus Malzahn decided that he didn't want to be the head coach at UCF anymore, and maybe that was a resign or we'll fire you. I'm not in that inner working room. But because people say, why would Gus Malzahn leave you at UCF? He said he wanted to be there. He was going to end his career there potentially. Why would you stop being a head coach to be an assistant? But at the end of the season, Gus Malzahn said, I'm not going to be the head coach of UCF anymore. I'm going to go to Florida State. I'm going to help out Mike Norvell. I'm going to be his offensive coordinator. And that opened the door at UCF. And if you know anything about UCF, they make big splashes. And I've been around for them. I've been around for the Gus Malzahn and the Scott Frost moments. and the Josh Heupel moments, who's obviously done well at Tennessee. They're in the college football playoff this year. So the door opens at UCF to find their next head coach. And they find their next head coach by reaching back to one that had a really tough decision in two places that he loved. How many times in your life do you get a second chance at making a decision? How many times in your life do you get to make both of the choices, where he left to go to Nebraska and now he gets to come to UCF, when last time it was UCF or Nebraska? Now after Nebraska, UCF opened their doors again with a new athletic director. I think that this is a huge splash. I see North Carolina and Bill Belichick, and I know that that has consumed your airwaves. But Scott Frost returning to UCF, to me, is a moment that we very rarely see in any part of the world, where someone made a decision, and you always wonder what would life be if they took the other road. And now Scott Frost gets to take the other road after taking the other road, and he gets to take both roads. The rarity of this moment should not go unnoticed. As the UCF head coach, who led them to 6-7 and 13-0 the following year, a win in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, then went on to Nebraska, who, by the way, was a team that has been in shambles for a long time. It's been a long time since they were number one in the country in 1983 and got beat by Syracuse in the Dome. Nebraska went 4-8, 5-7, 3-5, 3-9 before in 2022 Scott Frost was let go after 3 games where he went 1-2. Nebraska is a tough place to win. Nebraska had a piece of his heart. He played quarterback there. That's his alma mater. How do you say no? But anybody that was around Scott Frost, that watched Scott Frost in that press conference, you could tell he loves Nebraska, but he also fell in love with Orlando. And now, in my opinion, Christmas come early for the city of Orlando. Scott Frost, you never have to wonder what if anymore, because by a wonderful turn of events, the dominoes lined up and UCF went and got their guy again. Scott Frost is back as the UCF Knights head coach. What do you think, PJ?
I don't know about this one. I think Scott maybe thought he was a better coach than he was after going to Nebraska, and he couldn't do what he couldn't do what he did at UCF. So, well, I just don't think he's that good of a coach. I mean, look at you're right there in the breadbasket of America, right there. You got those big old plybores out there. They're 6 foot, 300 pounds. They love to go to Nebraska and play football. You know, he just didn't do the job there. So, for whatever reason, he's probably going to try to emulate what he did at UCF before. He'll probably go out and recruit better. And let's face it, Florida and Texas have the best area for recruiting football, not Nebraska. Now, Scott didn't do it. He didn't recruit well. He didn't win well. He didn't well at all. So I'm surprised he lasted 4.5 years. After a couple of years, I think I'd have kicked him to the curb. But let's hope that his love of the game and his X's and O's will translate to UCF a hell of a lot better than they did at Nebraska. Because at Nebraska, it sure didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing with Nebraska is, and again, I mean, you look at Nebraska now, and what Nebraska is becoming in this moment, and to look at Nebraska, you have to go back and you have to look at who's coaching the Nebraska Cornhuskers currently, and that is another coach that I've gotten to know over the years, and I have a lot of respect for, and that's Matt Rule. In year number 1, he got them to 5-7. This year, he got them bowl eligible at 6-6. And again, Nebraska, and people need to understand these things. There's certain schools like Rutgers, which Greg Schiano came back there for a second stint. You know, there's places like Rutgers, there's places like Nebraska, there's places like Syracuse, my hometown, where you're not just going to turn the thing around in 5 seconds. I mean, Doug Marrone had a good season, then an okay season, then a good season, then an okay season. When you look at certain schools, certain institutions in college football, it's going to take a lot of time. And when Scott Frost went to Nebraska, in my head, I'm like, why would you leave UCF? You're 13-0. You guys are doing a great job. They went undefeated the next year. And they were making a case for the college football playoff. The NCAA put them in their books as co-national champions. So when people say, well, UCF called themselves a national champion, the NCAA said that they could call themselves a national champion. So if you want to take it up with someone, take it up with the with the NCAA. Because UCF didn't deem themselves national champions. The NCAA deemed them national champions, which is the same thing they did with Boise State in the BCS years before, when Boise State went undefeated and they were not allowed to play in the championship game because the BCS did not deem them worthy enough. But the NCAA still called them co-national champions. When you look at when he left, it didn't make sense to leave UCF where the program was at. But your alma mater is your alma mater. If Marywood University called me today, whether I like some things or I don't like some things, I'm going to hear them out because they're my alma mater. You're going to listen. If Syracuse University, if I was a football player and I wanted to, and I got offers from Alabama and Texas and, let's say go Gators. I get Florida. I get an offer from Oregon, but Syracuse calls me and offers me. All those offers are great. I'm still going to hear out my hometown. Your hometown, your alma mater, they have a special place in your heart typically. So am I surprised that he left and went to Nebraska? No. But if you saw him, if you were in that room with me and you could feel that room and see his emotion, this was not an easy decision by this man. He probably cried all the way to the airport. And the fact that he gets to come back to UCF, PJ, you never see this. You never see a coach have to make a choice and make the other choice and then get to come back and make that choice for your team again. We almost never see this happen in anything, that when someone's at a crossroads and they choose the other road, that they get to come back and choose the road that they didn't choose. So I think if for nothing else, PJ, it's pretty cool to see that we don't have to sit and wonder what life would be like with Scott Frost at UCF if he had stayed, because he's back again.
Oh, it's true. I mean, he did what he did at UCF, but he didn't do it at Nebraska. So the jury will be out on his. He's going to have to recruit hard again, which is he'll love to do that because he's in a good state. UCF now moves up into the area where maybe close to FSU, where he's going to have to bring in some transfer players. He's going to have to recruit a lot better to try to get their record better. Look what FSU is just killing it now. They recruited fairly well. They're number 20 team in the nation. They got a 5-star quarterback that just transferred to him, who said they were going to transfer to him, Thomas Castellano from Boston College. And Mike has brought in Gus Malzone. He's brought in some other coaches that he likes. So he's going back what he did with Jordan Travis, where he needed him to win and almost win a championship. Now he's going to do that again with Gus Malzone, and he's going to be recruiting hard. So I look for FSU to bounce back next year, and that's where Scott Frost is right now. He's at where Mike Norvell was last year, or this year. I've been bringing in Gus Malzone. So Gus Malzone leaves a pretty good job, but he's getting $1.50 $1.5 million to be the offensive coordinator at FSU. That's a lot of money for an offensive coordinator. So Scott is going to have to go back to what he did before at UCF, and he's sure he's going to recruit well. He's going to have to go to transfer portal and build his team, because he's not going to be on a honeymoon like he was at Nebraska. Nebraska let him stay way, way, way too long. UCF's not going to do that this time. They're going to say, Scott, you got to win like you did before, and you got to win now.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, so we'll see what happens here, but I'm definitely excited, and I think it creates a different type of positivity around that program right now. I do want to address a question that we had come in about Kyle McCord and one of our listeners hearing that allegedly Kyle McCord was going to apply for another year for the NCAA. He can't do that. I mean, I guess anybody can ask a question, but as the rules state right now, he has no eligibility left. Kyle McCord, the starting quarterback of the Syracuse Orange, if you play in 4 games or less in a season, you can count that as a redshirt year. He played in 5 games in 2021, 7 games in 2022, was the starting quarterback at Ohio State in 2023, and the starting quarterback at Syracuse in 2024. He doesn't have any eligibility left. So to Kevin's question here, which I appreciate your question, I don't know who's telling you these things, but some people just like you to click on stuff. Some people just like, no, he cannot. And Kevin asking if he can claim a COVID year. He can't. The COVID year was 2020. So 2020 was the year where everybody was given an extra year of eligibility, not 2021. So as far as I know from everything that I followed over the years in my close coverage of collegiate athletics, COVID, if you were at a school in 2020, you had to physically be you were at the school, like you were enrolled in the school. In 2020, they gave you that year back. So if you were at the school 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, you could play in 2023. If you were at the school 2020, 21, 22, 23, you could play in 24. So he does not have a COVID year. He does not have a redshirt year. He does not have any eligibility. The NCAA would have to make a special case waiver for him. And, I mean, I guess they have those because there's guys that are playing in their 7th year and their 9th year. But as far as I'm concerned, with everything that I know of the actual rules of the NCAA, Kyle McCord is done. And so his last game will be the bowl game, which he's going to be playing in, which apparently is news today. Apparently it was news this morning. Kyle McCord's going to play in the bowl game. Fran said it on Monday. He said Kyle McCord's a football player. Do we have a football game coming up? Yeah. Well, then he's going to be at the football game. Until I know he's not going to be at the football game, he's going to be at the football game. But apparently he said he's going to play, and that became news because everybody thought he wasn't going to play, and is he not going to play, and this and that, whatever. Fran Brown does not have a program where he is all about people sitting out in a bowl game. I don't think that that's the Fran Brown way, and I don't think you're going to get that far with Fran doing that. I also think the NFL, it's playing another game, right? Why would you give that up? So, I mean, to me, why would you give up playing another game? I'm going to tell you one thing about the NFL general manager. If I was an NFL general manager, and this is my opinion, because I'm not going to say that every general manager is the same, and I'm not going to say they're all like me. If I was an NFL general manager and you got all the way to a bowl game, and because you didn't think it was a good enough bowl, or it wasn't in the college football playoff, and you weren't playing for a national championship, you decided to quit on your team and leave early, I would ask you why you quit on your family. I would ask you why you quit on your brothers. If you're going to go through the trenches with your brothers, you go all the way. You don't go some of the way. You go all the way. You finish the job you started. So if I was a general manager and Kyle McCord or anybody said, I'm not playing in the bowl game, the Holiday Bowl doesn't mean anything to me, I'm not playing for a national championship, I would ask him why he left his family early. And I would also look at that and think it's more selfish than it's selfless. Because if you're not playing in the bowl game, well, I don't want to get hurt. Well, I want to make more money. Okay. Well, I want to see more film. I want to see you go to a bowl game on the West Coast. I want to see you beat a team you didn't play this season. I want to see your last game be a victory. That's what I want to see. If I'm an NFL GM and you decide not to play, I'm going to think you might be selfish, self-serving, and you quit on your family. That's how I'm going to address it. So to me, guys opting out of bowl games is ridiculous. It's stupid. Well, they don't want to get hurt. They just played 13 games or 12 games. What's one more game? Well, what if they get hurt in this game? What if they got hurt in game 3? Jordan Travis got hurt before the ACC championship game. He got hurt in the 12th game. So should he have in the 11th game, so I'm scared and I'm not going to play. I mean, how do you know when it's going to happen? You play a barbaric sport. So to say, well, the guy's not playing because he doesn't want to get hurt and he wants to protect his money. He just played a full season. Why not play one more game, have one more piece of film, have one more opportunity? By the way, Syracuse is undefeated on the West Coast this season. They won against UNLV at Allegiant Stadium, the home of the Raiders. And then they also won when they went out to California and played Cal Berkeley. So he's got another shot to go out to California or to go to the West Coast, go to San Diego now, and show that Syracuse is a coast-to-coast team and go 3-0. Why would you not have one more ride with your brothers? And I'm going to tell you this right now. When your starting quarterback sits out a bowl game, your fans don't want to be there. Your alumni doesn't want to be there. Your fans don't want to watch the game. Nobody wants to see a game where the best players are sitting out, which is why I can't stand LeBron James and a lot of the things that happen in the NBA when guys decide to sit and take a break in the middle of the season. So, to me, Kyle McCord playing in the bowl game, apparently it's a story because everybody was worried about it, but Kyle McCord's a baller. Kyle McCord's a gamer. Kyle McCord wants to show the NFL what he can do. So why Kyle McCord would sit out a game when he's only played one season at Syracuse even is beyond me. But apparently it's a story. So for all of you to know, you can sleep sweetly tonight because Kyle McCord's going to be playing. Now we got a message here that came in. It said, any idea if Syracuse is looking to update the locker room in the Dome? It's looking old compared to other programs. Well, there's no plan to do that. There was plans to do the seating, plans to do the internet, which still sucks in the Dome. And this is the crazy thing about the Dome. They were named after an air-conditioned company, and they didn't have air conditioning. Then they got named after a wireless network company, and their internet sucks. So basically, whatever the Dome is named after, that part of the Dome is going to suck. So I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what's happening, but the Dome definitely needs some upgrades still. There is new seating, there's new video boards, there's new audio stuff, but the internet for a broadcaster still sucks. During a timeout, when all of you go to your phones, that makes our internet in the press box go down. So we obviously need our own we need our own press box internet. I've gone to plenty places around the country. The media has a secure line, and the fans have an unsecure line. For some odd reason, at the Dome in my hometown, all of the internet's unsecured. There's no protective measures, and we have the same internet as the 30,000 people that are there. It makes no sense, but it does scream to the fact that Syracuse is being cheap, and they need to spend a little bit of money. So whatever the JMA wireless team paid to take over the naming rights of the Dome, I suggest Syracuse University uses some of that money to give us a secure line to use our internet so that we don't get bumped off every time somebody looks up something on the internet from their fan seat. So that is my soapbox today. PJ, any thoughts on Kyle McCord and thoughts on people opting out of bowl games?
Kyle McCord certainly proved his worth. He's done a great job for your team, and in saying that, you're going to go to a good bowl. So, and they're let's see, where are they? Syracuse. They're number 22 in the country right now. So, if you win the game, then you'll probably be in the teens. Florida's playing Tulane, and what I read last week is the quarterback for Tulane is not going to play because he's opting out for the draft. Now, Tulane had a hell of a year. A good game against Army. Tulane deserves their whole team to play Florida, and they're not going to get it. I don't know if I forgot the man's name, but that's an embarrassment. I mean, now that would be an embarrassment too if Kyle McCord says, I'm going to prepare for the draft. I'm not going to play this game. I mean, let's face it. Most people would say, yeah, okay, whatever. But the real fans want to see their whole team there. Well, Tulane's not going to have their whole team. So that puts a blanket over that.
Yeah. So it's good to see Kyle McCord out there. Good to see people out there playing in these bowl games. PJ, are you for or against guys sitting out a bowl game? When a guy's like, I don't want to play, I don't want to get hurt, I don't want to play, I want to make sure I get my money in the NFL, I don't want to play, I want to prepare for the NFL. What are your thoughts on guys that decide to either transfer away from their team before a bowl game or sit out a bowl game. These opt-outs and these transfers, the guys that leave their team before the bowl game is played. What are your thoughts on that?
If you're still enrolled in school and going to classes, you need to be with your team. Period. Now, if you've already graduated and gone, or you're not going to play anymore, then I could see them leaving. But if some of these kids have been in school for 3 or 4 years and probably don't have 30 credits they've earned. So if you're still enrolled in school and you're going to classes, you need to be there.
Yeah. And so I agree. I mean, I think that people should be there, should be in it. We got a question. Why do you think the Army-Navy game gets overlooked? Is it because the majority of kids are not going to go professional in football? I don't believe it gets overlooked. I mean, I'm going to echo the sentiments of Jeff Monken, the head coach of the Army Black Knights. This game is watched by millions of people. So I don't see it as getting overlooked. And, I mean, I'm very excited to be on site, on location for the first time ever at the Army-Navy game. And I'll be covering the game. I know both coaches. I know both programs. So I want to shout out Jeff Monken, who's been on the show a bunch this season. You're going to see something from him and I in a Q&A tomorrow morning on the broadcast on the eve of the game. So you'll see my latest conversation with Jeff Monken of the Army Black Knights. You'll also see my latest conversation with Brian Newberry, who's been on the show a ton, the head coach of the Navy Midshipmen. And you can also watch my conversation with Navy Midshipman quarterback Braxton Woodson, that I got to have going into this game as well. So a lot of great stuff coming up. I can't wait to cover the game. It's huge, and there's going to be millions upon millions of people watching the game. My only gripe with the Army-Navy game is there shouldn't be any other game that day. The whole point of having the Army-Navy game after the conference championship games is that it stood alone. And the fact that these bowl games, because there's so many bowl games, there's 2 of them being played on Saturday. The only thing that I would ask of the bowl season is that no bowl game or any other game is played in college football FBS on the day that the Army-Navy game is played. There's a point of emphasis on that game, and the fact that there's bowl games going on at that time, I don't think is right. I mean, they're not going on at the same time. One's at noon and one's at 9 p.m., but I just feel like that day should be Army-Navy Day, and we should celebrate it all day long, not just during the game. So for me, as a proud grandson and grandnephew of veterans of the Army and the Navy, I find love for that game every year, and I feel like it should stand alone. With that being said, PJ, Army's playing Navy. Who do you have winning the game?
Well, certainly Army should win easily, but I want to give you some insight on an article I read in Sports Illustrated just last week. Actually, it was yesterday. An article about, and the headline is, "You don't get sleep like us." That's the name of it. You don't get sleep like us. And it shows a couple of cadets there. And the article was really very revealing. These guys get up and ready to go at 6 in the morning. And a lot of times they don't end their day until 9:30 at night. And in that, they've got to eat, they've got to practice, they've got to go to class, they got to do the homework, they got to finish writing papers, and then if they're lucky, they can sleep 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
Remarkable story. If you get a chance to read it, folks, please pull up ESPN and look for it. It's "You don't get to sleep like us." Now that's very revealing.
Yeah, no, and it's this Army, Navy, Air Force, the military academies don't get the love that they should get, and there's it's just sad. It's sad at the way that they're treated in the polls. It's sad at the way that they're treated, by just the college, sometimes the media, and it's unfortunate. I mean, these coaches do a heck of a job. Navy was down for a little while, and Brian Newberry and his staff helped to pick them back up. Army was down for a while, and Coach Monken over this time helped to pick them up. So, I'm not going to have that unnoticed here and Do I think that Army deserves a higher profile bowl game, Greg? Yes. Army's 11-1. Army should be in the college. If Indiana's in the college football playoff, Army should be in the college football playoff. I would love for someone to argue with me about that and the BS schedule that Indiana played. So Indiana has one win over a top 25 team that's barely a top 25 team. So I would love to have the conversation of 11-1 Army that has a unique style of play, and Indiana, who did pretty much nothing against, I mean, they beat a bunch of unranked teams. Congratulations. Army beat a bunch of unranked teams. So, I mean, I don't understand it. Do I think Army should have a better bowl game? Army should be in the college football playoff. I don't care if you make them the 12th team. They should be in the college football playoff. This year, you cannot argue factually that Indiana was leaps and bounds better than Army. You can make an argument about anybody else. Notre Dame beat them head-to-head. If Army beat Notre Dame this year and they weren't in the college football playoff, I'd be screaming about that thing for 25 years. So they didn't win that game. I get it. But Indiana, Army, head-to-head, looking at that, I'm putting Army in. Looking at the schedule of Indiana and the schedule of Army. And should they be in a better bowl game? Yeah. They always put the military academies, they try to put them in these, military-connected bowl game, this and that. No. Army's 11-1. Army should be in one of the top-tier bowl games. Whatever's, considered the highest after the New Year's Six that are now part of the college football playoff, Army should be in one of those bowl games. And I think it's a travesty that they're not. I think it's disrespectful. I think it's wrong. And I don't know what else Army has to do to get in the public eye better with the Associated Press and with the coaches and with the College Football Playoff Committee. They went 11-1 this season. They got an opportunity to go 12-1. They got a quarterback who should be a Heisman finalist in Bryson Daly. So, I mean, I don't know what else this team has to do. They prepare to fight for our country. They go through a regimen that nobody else that you're not going through at Syracuse and Nebraska and Florida and all this stuff. Nobody works like the military academies to that degree. Plus, they're going to serve our country. Plus, they're going to school. Plus, they're playing football. And they go 11-1. I mean, for goodness sakes. Notre Dame goes 11-1 when they play a crap schedule in the past, and they got in the college football playoff when there was only 4 teams there. So, I mean, do I think Army deserves a better game? Yes, Greg. I think they should be in the college football playoff. I don't care if they lose by 100, because they can't lose any worse than Ohio State did when they got shut out by Clemson. So, yes, they deserve to be in a better bowl. PJ, let's do our picks for the NFL and for college football really quick here. We're going to go to the Army-Navy game. You're picking Army in this one?
Yes.
Okay, so PJ going with Army in the Army-Navy game. This is very difficult for me because I know them both. And like I said, I know them both well. I'm around these teams. During the season, I was down in Arlington, Texas with both of these programs. I have a lot of respect for their head coaches. I have to be impartial here, and as a broadcaster, I believe Army is going to win this game. But I honestly hope that it comes down to like the last play of the game or the last couple minutes. Navy's been up and down this season. That's why I'm picking Army. But I got respect for both of them very much so. And to both of my grandfathers that served in them and my great uncles. Also, bowl season starts on Saturday. The Celebration Bowl brought to you by Cricket. What do you have, PJ? Jackson State and South Carolina State.
Jackson State lost prime time. I think they lose the game, too.
All right. Jackson State going up against South Carolina State. Because South Carolina State, that's a team that'll go out and play some big games, and you'll look at it and you'll think it's South Carolina at first. You'll think it's the Gamecocks, but it's South Carolina State out here that's done some things. I'm going to go with South Carolina State as well. So South Carolina State in the Celebration Bowl to get the win. And they're the home team, quote unquote. That game's going to be on ABC. It's going to be played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta at noon. South Alabama, Western Michigan, playing in the Salute to Veterans Bowl, the IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl on ESPN. What do you got?
That's a mouthful right there, isn't it?
It is.
Who are the teams again? Who are the teams again?
The teams are South Alabama and Western Michigan.
Jeez. I don't even know anything about these teams. I guess I'll go with Western Michigan.
Western Michigan. So, yeah, so I'm going to go with, let me see here. I'm going to go with, and Greg, I just sent you a message in caps here. Apologize for the caps, but I know what you were trying to do there. But, yeah, so South Alabama, Western Michigan. I'm going to go with Western Michigan as well. Western Michigan, my buddy used to be the head coach, Tim Lester, and they did some good things this season. They've had some success there this season in their new chapter. So I'm going to go Western Michigan in that. Game on Tuesday, Memphis, who's ranked 25 in the College Football Playoff Committee's final poll. They went 10-2 this season. Another team that doesn't get a lot of respect. Memphis won with Justin Fuente. They won with Mike Norvell. They sent a ton of guys to the NFL. And they win with Ryan Silverfield, who took some time to get there, and he's been getting there. So what do you have for this one, PJ? Memphis and West Virginia, a longtime rival of Syracuse, will play in the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. Get it, girl. And that'll be in Toyota Stadium in Frisco, Texas.
Where the hell did they get the names for these bowls?
Scooters Coffee, PJ. You don't have any Scooters Coffee in the kitchen right now with MT?
I'll take Memphis.
I'm gonna go with Memphis as well. I gotta go with the Memphis Tigers. Like I said, they've had a good season. They came on late and weren't really a part of the polls until the end. So happy to see that they're in them, albeit number 25. I think it should be a little better than that, but I'm gonna go with the Memphis Tigers and show them some love here. And sent a bunch of guys to the NFL in recent history. The other ones we're gonna go to here are the Boca Raton Bowl, which is what Syracuse was in last year. And here's the irony. Syracuse had Bob Chesney as the coach that they potentially were going to hire, and they ended up hiring Fran Brown. Chesney came from Holy Cross. When he didn't get hired at Syracuse, he got hired at James Madison. Now James Madison is playing in the bowl game that Syracuse played in last year. So how crazy and how small the world is that the coach that was almost the head coach of Syracuse is now coaching in the bowl that Syracuse was in last year. James Madison, Western Kentucky. What do you got, PJ?
James Madison.
I'm going with JMU as well, and Bob Chesney. I did my research on Chesney, and folks, from what I was hearing, Chesney was definitely not only in the running, but there was a potential opportunity that we almost saw him be the head coach. I'm going with James Madison in this one. California, who is in the ACC, they're in a bowl game. They're playing UNLV, who Syracuse played earlier this season. This is in the Art of Sport LA Bowl. Who wins it?
What are the teams again?
UNLV in California.
Well, let's see. Syracuse beat both of them, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think I like California.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Cali as well. And I know UNLV is ranked in the top 25, but, you know, I feel like Cali, they've had themselves some good moments this season. I think they're going to end on a high note. So I'm going to go with Cali in this, and shout out to head coach Wilcox, who was on the show earlier this season. And the last one we're going to do, PJ, for college, will take us to next Thursday. A Thursday night game in the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl between Georgia Southern and Sam Houston. What do you got, PJ?
Georgia Southern.
He's going to go with Georgia Southern. I'm going to be different here. I'm going to go with Sam Houston to win this game. So Sam Houston, unless I'm totally wrong here, they've had some success. So PJ going with Georgia Southern. I'm going to go with Sam Houston to win this one. That's the one game that PJ and I disagree upon, and that's what we got. So that starts off your college football postseason here on Wake Up Call, and, of course, the Army-Navy game. PJ, we're going to head off to the NFL now and do this quick, as I know that Christopher Heidel is going to be waiting in the queue here for me to bring him in from HerbFM Sports Radio. We're going to go to Week 15 in the NFL with Papa Joe, and that will take us in. I can't believe that it's week. This thing creeps up on you every single year. You get to Week 15, and you're wondering how the heck did you get here as fast as you did. But we're in Week 15 of the NFL, and that'll put us in a place where PJ and I have the opportunity to pick the games once again. We were off for a week, and now we're back with you with the opportunity to give you our thoughts on who's going to win these games in the NFL coming up this week. So with that being said, as I always do, I will defer to PJ. And as I defer to PJ for NFL Week 15, I'm going to go to the first game, which is going to be the game that we have tonight. And that game is going to have us see the Rams go up against the Niners in a matchup in the NFC West. What do you got, PJ?
49ers.
49ers, okay. PJ going with the 49ers in this game. I'm going to go with the Rams. The Rams had a good showing against the Bills, so I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Rams to win this game. And for Thursday Night Football, the next game that we have up is going to take us to Sunday and our 1 o'clock games, Kansas City and Cleveland. What do you got, PJ? This is the Kareem Hunt Bowl, essentially.
Kansas City.
PJ going Kansas City on the road. I'm also going to go with Kansas City against Cleveland. Cincinnati against Tennessee, PJ. What do you have for this one?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati over Tennessee. I'm going to also pick Cincinnati over Tennessee in this one. Tennessee has proven that they're not as good as the Jaguars, and the Jaguars have been awful this season. So that's not a good thing by any stretch of the imagination. Next one we got up, Washington at New Orleans.
I think Washington should win this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Washington as well in this matchup. They're playing away from home. They'll be on the road on Sunday, and they're giving their home to the Army-Navy game on Saturday. I'm also going to go with Washington to win this matchup on the road. So I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders. Next game we have up, PJ. Baltimore at the New York Giants.
This will be a runaway for Baltimore.
Yeah, this is a rematch of the Super Bowl that Trent Dilfer played in. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens as well. Here's two teams that are awful. Dallas at Carolina.
Who cares, right? Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas at Carolina. Carolina has had some good moments. They've pushed some good teams. And PJ said Dallas is going to win this one. I'm going with the Carolina Panthers to win this game at home in Charlotte. So PJ and I disagreeing on that one as well. I'm going with Carolina. Next game we have up, the New York Jets at the Jaguars.
Oh, what a terrible game this is going to be. Well, I say I'm not a fair weather friend, so it's got to be Jacksonville.
Yeah, PJ going with Jacksonville in this one. I don't typically pick Jacksonville this season, but when I do, I pick them against the Jets. I'm going with the Jaguars as well to win this game. Chris Heidel coming up in just a couple minutes here, folks, so stay tuned for that as we talk all things ACC coming up here in just a couple minutes as we finish up our picks here. Next one we got, PJ, is going to be Miami at Houston.
Houston has been wobbly here the last couple of weeks here, and Tua has been throwing the ball really well, but I think I like Houston at home.
Yeah, Tua's got Miami playing a different game when he's out there. We all know that. I'm also going to go with Houston, though. Houston's at home. C.J. Stroud and the gang, they've had some moments where they faltered, but I still think they're a dangerous team for the playoffs. Next one we got up here, PJ, Indianapolis at Denver. The Peyton Manning Bowl.
Denver at home.
PJ taking Denver at home. I'm also going to go with Denver. I told you, behind Jaden Daniels, the best rookie this season at quarterback was going to be Bo Nix. And I said that to a room full of crickets, it felt like, and I'm sticking with it. Bo Nix doing a tremendous job with the Denver Broncos. Their defense doing a great job as well. Next one we got here, Buffalo at Detroit. This could be the game of the week.
It is. Detroit they're just superior. Offensive, defensive, they have it all. And Josh Allen played one of the best games I've ever seen any football player play last week. When he accounted for 6 touchdowns and lost the friggin' game.
Yeah.
I'm still going to go with Detroit. Josh Allen is alien. He's superhuman, but I still like Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen got me 75 points in fantasy last week, so I appreciate him for that. I'm going to go, this is Buffalo, Detroit. Detroit is, and I've said it over and over again this season, I said it early on this season, this is a Super Bowl caliber team. I got to go with Detroit. Not that I think that Buffalo can't get there. I just think Detroit is arguably the most dangerous team in the NFL right now, even over Kansas City. Pittsburgh at Philadelphia, the battle for PA. What do you got?
I like Pittsburgh.
PJ going with Pittsburgh in this one. They've won with different quarterbacks this season, and they've won in defensive-laden games. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh as well, because if it comes down to strong defense, I like Pitt's defense over the defense of the Philadelphia Eagles. Next one we got up here, PJ, will take us to Arizona. New England at Arizona. What do you got?
Arizona's been really disappointing this year. New England's playing a lot better with the new quarterback. I think I like New England.
PJ going to go with Drake May, and I'm going to go with Arizona. Arizona's been an enigma. They've been all over the place. They win, they lose. It doesn't make sense. They got the talent to win, so we'll see what happens. I don't know if Kyler Murray is going to be long in Arizona if they keep having this up and down and around the corner. They're not having a lot of consistency, so something's got to change here. We got to figure it out. Never wish anybody to lose a job. Wherever Kyler Murray is, I want him to be successful. I just don't know how much longer Arizona's going to stick with it, but I am picking Arizona for the game. Tampa at the Chargers.
It's a good game. San Diego. Look at with Hebert, San Diego can score anywhere on the field, and they have the athletes to do it. I like the Chargers.
Yeah, San Diego. The old San Diego, right? So the Chargers here playing at home in LA against Tampa. I'm going to lean on the side of the Chargers. The West Coast seems to get it done more when teams come to play them from the East Coast, so I'm going to go with the Chargers. And then we got Sunday Night Football, Green Bay at Seattle. Are you going to go with MT or are you going to go against MT?
No, I'm going to go with Seattle. Seattle's playing really good lately.
And by the way, MT, I guarded that homemade fudge through security like no other, and I'm still eating it to this day. So shout out to MT's homemade fudge that I carried through security, and I made sure my dad and I both had it at different times. We switched off like running backs handing the ball to each other. So we made sure that the fudge got home okay. So I'm going... Yeah, I had to... Listen, there's no... And I'm not saying this just because MT's on the call right now. I do not eat any other fudge made in the world. If it's not made by MT, it ain't good enough. That's my Food and Drug Administration. If it's not MT, it ain't happening. So I got the good stuff, and we got it home okay, and it's in the fridge, and I'm probably going to have some on a commercial break. I'm going to go with Green Bay in this game. I'm going with MT in this one. They've had an up and down season, but I'm going to go with Green Bay. And the final two, PJ, Monday night doubleheader. Can't believe that 15 weeks into the season, we're still having doubleheaders on Monday night, but we got two. We have Chicago at Minnesota, and we have Atlanta at the Raiders. So what do you got, PJ?
I like the Vikings, and I like the Raiders.
PJ likes the Vikings and the Raiders. Yeah, Atlanta started off having a good season. I don't know what the heck happened to the Atlanta Falcons, but they're all but handing the ball to Michael Penix for next season, who they drafted 8th overall. I'm going to go with Minnesota, and I'm also going to go with, at home, the Raiders. I got to go with the Raiders in this one, and a shout-out to the Boom. Minnesota and Vegas, those are our picks. So PJ and I disagreed on a few of these, and a lot of them we have the same. We'll see how we do when we see you next week here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back with Chris Heidel. PJ, as always, thank you for your time. And MT, as always, thank you for the fudge.
Okay, thanks. See you, Dan.
Take care. So with that being said here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we'll be having some fun with you here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Can't wait to talk with Chris Heidel about the ACC, and that'll be coming up momentarily here where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Make sure that you stay with us right here on Wake Up Call.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily, and we bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. I'm honored and privileged to welcome my next guest here to the show, picture in picture with me as he comes in here and we get you set, Mr. Chris Heidel of HerbFM Sports Radio. And Chris and I have been on each other's shows for many years now, and you also hear us out at those ACC events at ACC Operation Basketball. Now is ACC, it's still Operation Basketball, or is it Tip-Off? Now it's a Tip-Off now.
Tip-off now. Yeah.
So ACC Tip-Off, formerly Operation Basketball, and then also the ACC Kickoff. So Mr. Heidel, how are we doing?
Doing great. Doing wonderful today. I was just down in Charlotte, and Adam and I were going to stop by some place called Brooklyn Pickle.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't open. So you need to talk to those people that when I'm in town, it better be open.
Oh, it wasn't open. Okay, yeah. We need to make sure that changes for you, Mr. Heidel. So should have let me know that you were going down there. I would have had somebody.
Yeah, we went down there for the ACC championship game, and I said to Adam the other day, we were sitting in the hotel room, I was like, let's go to Brooklyn Pickle, because Dan has that place around here. So we looked it up online, and he goes, oh, it's open Monday. I'm like, I'm leaving Monday. Yeah, I'm like, that's not cool.
So here's the thing. They close on Sundays in honor of the Lord.
Right,
So
I know that.
Yeah, so they do close on Sundays. One of the only places.
I think they closed on Saturday. I think they were open until 2 or something like that, and we had to be at the stadium by we had lunch with somebody.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I think it was your fault. because if they were open on Saturday and you didn't make it over there, or you could have stayed until Monday. So I mean, and with all due respect to the Brooklyn Pickle, this sandwich is good enough to stick in town for. I'll tell you that, Chris.
Yes, well, that's the next thing on my list when I come back in there for probably next year for the probably for basketball. The ACC basketball tournament's going to be there.
Oh yeah,
There.
yeah. The ACC basketball tournament's going to be in the state of North Carolina. I think for the next 5 years. It's between Charlotte and Greensboro for the next many years. So it'll be exciting. I love it. I love the state of North Carolina. Much appreciation for my North Carolinians out there. My future wife is probably from North Carolina as well. So, but with that being said, we got a lot of things to get into. One of them being the ACC championship. You were on site on location for it. I couldn't be because I was taking my annual trip with my dad, or else I probably would have scurried myself down there as well. But you got to be there. You got to be on site to see SMU live and in person, a team that I have spent many, many years with, over probably almost a decade, if not a decade at this point, with Chad Morris from Chad Morris having the team to Sonny Dykes having the team to now Rhett Lashley. You got to see them live. You also got to see the Clemson Tigers, who many of us who cover the ACC know that they are the darlings of the ACC. So what's your take on what you got to see with SMU and Clemson?
Well, I saw it was a good game at the end, but Clemson jumped out to like a 24-7 lead, and I'm thinking to myself, like, this could get really bad real quick, and then all of a sudden SMU just kept chipping away at the lead, and I'm like, okay, well, we might go to overtime here. And SMU scored a touchdown with 6 or 7 seconds left, and I'm thinking on the sidelines, and I was talking to Adam. I was like, if you're Dabo, do you go for it, or do you take a knee to go to overtime? And I guess the guy who kicked it off, his kickoff return, he said in the press conference that he didn't think the guy was going to his kickoff return was going to take it out of the end zone, and he took it out. Yeah, because and then he got a good field position. And speaking of that kid who hit the winning field goal, he was only a freshman, and he basically did a Justin Tucker 56-yard field goal, and he got it. He cleared it, And he said he's from Charlotte, and I talked to him after the game, and I asked him, what's it like, making the winning kick? And I said, were you nervous or anything? He goes, no, I'm used to doing this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm used to driving through a red light all the time, but I still get nervous if I get pulled over by a cop. But he was like, Dabo was like really like running around like a child, like he wanted a Christmas, he saw a Christmas gift or something like that. He was like running around the whole field. It was pretty cool to see a coach doing that. Yeah.
And he did return the kind sentiments as Fran Brown after Syracuse defeated Miami. I was at the Dome, and Fran said, I got you, or he said, what's up, Dabo Sweeney? I got you in. And so got him into the ACC championship game by defeating Miami. And then Dabo said, he talked about God opening a door and giving you an opportunity. And he said God, and he said Syracuse. He gave a little shout out to Syracuse as well. Yeah. So to see Dabo, I mean, listen, the last couple years, they haven't gotten a ton of respect. Since Trevor Lawrence, because DJ didn't work out, right? DJ Uiagalelei, and then they brought in Cade Klubnik, and Klubnik for the last couple years, it's been up and down. So Dabo has not really gotten a lot of respect, and the team hasn't gotten a lot of respect in recent time here. But here they are once again at the top of the ACC mountain and back in the college football playoffs. So what can you say to that effect, that in the last few years, Clemson hasn't been given a lot of respect in the AP, in the coaches poll, in the college football playoff committee's polls, but here they are back in the CFP?
Well, back to your comment with the Syracuse coach, I did ask Dabo during the press conference on Friday, like, are you giving that Syracuse coach a lovely steak dinner? Because I think he earns one for that, and he's chuckled. He's like, "That's a good idea. I should give him a steak dinner for that one."
Yeah.
You get in Miami, but I asked him, on last Friday, I said, after that Louisville game, everybody thought you were gone. You're done for the year. And Clemson's done, and and then all of a sudden you get to Pittsburgh, and you have a miracle run by your quarterback with 2 minutes to go to to win the game away from the Panthers. And then also you're still you're in it, and you're sitting at home. And he said he was sitting at home after the game. He lost to South Carolina, and he was in his office watching it on his phone, and all of a sudden he knew that he had a chance to go to Charlotte. His phone started blowing up with all his players texting him saying like, "Let's do this, coach. Let's go. Let's get it going. Let's get going." And he said it was like normally after losing a game on Saturday, Monday is like a blue Monday, and everybody's not really happy. But he had a different point of view on Monday, knowing that he's going to Charlotte on Saturday, and they all wanted to start practicing and getting ready for SMU.
Yeah. It was crazy, but that was the road. Syracuse beats Miami, then Clemson goes in. SMU was already going to be in. On the other side of this, looking at SMU, your thoughts on the College Football Playoff Committee bringing in SMU as an at-large team, not shutting them out? There was this belief, there was a concern on my side of it that having covered SMU all these years and in the American, they didn't get respect in the American. And I felt like they were still getting treated like that. It was like, well, the committee doesn't respect the American Athletic. SMU is still getting treated like they're in the American Athletic. And there was this notion of, okay, they're winning in the ACC, but they have to keep winning. And they have to beat Cal. And they have to go undefeated. And then they have to win the ACC championship after they play in the ACC championship. But then there's a team like Indiana where they said, if Indiana loses to Ohio State, I've never seen this in my life. It was on television. It said, if Indiana loses to Ohio State, and this wasn't in the Big Ten championship, they have a 96% chance of getting in the college football playoff. If you lose, so Indiana doesn't play in the Big Ten championship. Ohio State doesn't play in the Big Ten championship. But SMU had to go undefeated, had to get into the ACC championship, had to win the ACC championship for a lot of people out there to think this is a done deal. Well, the committee, in my opinion, did the right thing, and they kept SMU in. A team that was above Miami, who they had Miami ranked above them in every one of their polls except for the 1 week before and the last week.
Mm-hmm.
The committee wanted Miami, from what I saw. The committee didn't want Clemson, but they were going to have to put Clemson in if they made it. But the committee was not giving a lot of respect to SMU until the second to last week of the season. What are your thoughts on the fact that SMU got in, and were you concerned that the committee wasn't going to let them in if they lost the ACC championship?
Well, that was the whole, ride around the stadium on Saturday night, before the game. I ran into the commissioner of the ACC, Dr. Phillip. Is he a doctor?
Dr. Jim Phillips, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I saw him on the, up in the press box, and I introduced myself again. He said, "Hey, Chris, nice to see you. How's it?" I looked at him like, how's your day going?" And he goes, he looked at me and goes, "Not well." I'm like, I could tell.
Yeah.
Because of the comments he said on game day. Yeah. And I'm like, he was getting ridiculed, on social media and all that stuff because if people don't know what he said that Jordan Travis played for, Miami, now he's with SMU. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess he got his players mixed up. But, when you're live on TV, folks, and you do this stuff live, and we do our show tonight live, anything goes, and after you listen to yourself afterwards, you go, oh, I kind of shouldn't say that, oops, it ain't my bad, but, no, but I feel like, Adam wanted SMU in, I wanted 3 teams in because, I'm not, trying to be, I'm not a Miami fan, but my brother is not doing so well because he's in and out of the hospital, so I wanted Miami in.
Yeah.
So he could see his Canes try to run through the playoff, so he could, because my brother hasn't seen them win a national championship since Ken Dorsey in 2000 against, Nebraska, that Rose Bowl, game, they blew him out. And, and I know, the week of the Syracuse game, I talked to him when he was in the hospital, and he said to me, he goes, "I'm scared about the game at the Dome." I'm like, "Why are you scared of the game at the Dome?" He goes, "We don't do well at the Dome." And I guess that's true.
There's a reason why they haven't played there in 22 years.
Yeah, Miami didn't do well. Miami said they don't do well in the Dome, and I had to do some research, and he was correct. The last time you guys played them before, 2 weeks ago, it was 22 years ago, and that was Dominic McNabb running them out of Syracuse. And I think that's the last time they were up there. So.
Well, the last time they were up, they won. Miami won 49-7. the time before that. So November 30th, 2002, they were Big East foes in the same conference, just a different conference, and Miami won. And then the last one that Syracuse won was in 1998 with Donovan McNabb, and they won 66-13, I think.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought, the ACC could have got 3 teams in, but, because with Clemson winning, everybody was saying, oh, now that's going to throw a curveball. And I feel like, and this is just my opinion about the college football playoff committee, I feel like they all need to be, I think we need to vote for people who are not affiliated with any conference or any organization. Like, let's say the guy who's head of the committee is from Michigan.
Yeah.
He's the AD at Michigan. I think that we need to pick people who are not related to any conferences or any, like we have football fans like you and I. We should be part of the committee because we're football fans. Yes, we do cover the ACC, but we watch football every weekend religiously. We watch college and pros.
Yeah.
And I feel like we need to have somebody who is like not affiliated with an Alabama or a Michigan or somebody, and have like with you guys up there in Syracuse. You have all these wonderful universities up there. Make them part of the college football committee. They're not affiliated with the Big Ten or the ACC. They're football fans, and I think that probably will help with the committee a little bit better because you get people who are football fans, not the political side of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with you that there's guys that have been on the committee, and they've been on the committee in connection to the Big Ten, whether it be at the Iowa AD or in this case now the chair is the president, or pardon me, the AD at Michigan, and he just signed an extension at Michigan. So I mean, I've talked about a Big Ten advantage, and when you go back and you look at the last couple chairs and you look at Iowa Big Ten, Michigan, Big Ten, the chair of the committee, and it's a small committee, there's only 13 members, the chair of this committee, Big Ten, and then Big Ten. So, I mean, when I'm sitting here talking about a Big Ten advantage, and you're looking at the fact that the College Football Playoff Committee is led by someone directly connected to the Big Ten, I mean, I don't know how much more of a wake-up call you need, pun fully intended in that case, but it is ridiculous, and I do agree with you that there should be people within this committee that are knowledgeable about football but have no connection and allegiance. Right. Essentially, it's like, I mean, people talk about it with politicians all the time. If a politician makes a deal with Enron or with Exxon and Mobil, then if they became the president of the United States, then maybe there's going to be kickbacks to Exxon and Mobil. Right. And Robin Williams said a long time ago, I think you should have to wear patches on your suits of everyone that you represent. So, when you have the head of the College Football Playoff Committee at Michigan, he's got to wear a Michigan and a Big Ten at all times so that we know, okay, all these decisions that you're making, here's who you serve. And, I mean, they can say that they don't serve that, but the Big Ten has gotten an advantage for many, many years, pretty much for the majority of the college football playoffs decade that it's been around, a little bit over a decade. So to me, I do agree with you. Knowledgeable people in the football. I mean, because you think about it, if John Wildhack, the AD of Syracuse, was on this committee, he's going to do everything in his power to get Syracuse in the top 10, top 15. I mean, it's you can't, you're a human being. And so I think a lot, for anybody to think that there's not partiality or double standards when you have people directly connected to these conferences and schools is ridiculous. I mean, remember, Michigan had to lose 3 games this season to fall out of the AP's top 25 and the coaching polls top 25 before they even got, to the college football playoff rankings. They had to lose 3 games to just give any respect to an undefeated Army or an undefeated Navy. Right. So I do agree with your point. I can understand it. I'm happy they brought in SMU. And I'm happy SMU made it. What I'm looking at is SMU, let's say they get that win over Penn State. That next, and I'm not trying to get ahead of ourselves, I'm just, for argument's sake, SMU, Boise State, that to me is a game against 2 teams that were never going to have a chance to win a national championship. So if that gets to happen, I'm really excited.
Yeah, and you have that guy from, I was talking to my brother last night, the guy from Boise State who's basically, 100 yards away from breaking Barry Sanders' record.
It's close, yeah.
And my brother goes, I didn't realize he's ahead of, almost about ready to break Barry Sanders' record. And he goes, I like Barry. I want him not to break the record. And I said, Will, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But Barry came out and said, to the guy, like, congratulations, if you break my record, thank you, and he was graceful with it, But yeah, with SMU and Boise State, I think that'll be a great game, and that's down in South Florida at the Orange Bowl, and that's going to be nobody has a true advantage because they don't have anybody. Both schools don't have it. It's not a school down in Miami or anything, so they're going to have their fans, and SMU fans travel pretty well. I saw, I flew in on Friday to Charlotte. I think I saw maybe a lot of SMU people getting off the plane, getting to the terminal. And even Adam was trying to get his bags at the terminal. And this one guy came from Arkansas and he goes, "Yeah, I'm an SMU fan since I was a little kid." I'm like, "That's cool." I said, "You're from Arkansas, right?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, welcome to Charlotte." Yeah, it's not paradise. He goes, "I know, it's pretty cold here." I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much." But yeah, SMU fans were pretty loud, and that stadium, Dan, it was not full. I was kind of embarrassed by it. I mean, I think Clemson fans are turning into like Atlanta Braves fans. They're so used to going to the ACC championship game. They're like, "Oh, why bother making the trip up to Charlotte?" But if you're such a diehard Clemson fan,
yeah,
you should definitely be there every time they're there for the championship game. I don't understand why they have to do this like Atlanta Braves, because the Braves used to do that. They won 14 straight pennants, and they had first round playoff in Turner Field, and it was not even full. I'm like, come on, so it's a playoff game. Almost.
Yeah, I mean, Clemson fans. I know they travel well. They travel well up here, and I mean the hope is that you have, and we could see it. My dad and I were looking at it on television. We were down in Florida, and he said to me, he's like, the first thing he's like, the stadium looks like it's not that full. And that's kind of the sad part of it. But what was your experience like? I mean, it's at Bank of America Stadium all year, every year except for the year where the ACC decided to take a stand against North Carolinian law about something to do with bathrooms. So they moved it to Camping World Stadium down in Orlando, and I was there for that one, where Virginia Tech and Justin Fuente's first year almost took down Clemson in a shootout. Bank of America Stadium, typically the home in Charlotte for the ACC championship. Charlotte moves their headquarters, the ACC moves their headquarters from Greensboro to Charlotte within these last few years, so they're right downtown as well. What was the experience like in Charlotte? What, like, outside of the game, in the community, around town? What was it all like? I mean, you talked about there was a lot of SMU fans. Bring me into the sights and the smells and the feel of SMU and Clemson and what it looked like in Charlotte, because watching the game, it felt like there were a lot of empty seats, but what was the experience like?
Well, we went through FanFest on Friday, down there, and they had that, right across the street from where the Charlotte Knights play, that little park, and they had all the food, food vendors, and we got ordered a slice of pizza from Nice Brick Oven Pizza. My guy, Adam, my friend Jen, and myself. And the guy goes, "Yeah, that's a nice truck." And he looked at me and goes, "Oh, I bought it from Steve Harvey." I'm like, "Steve Harvey, the guy from Family Feud, Steve Harvey?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, Steve Harvey had it in his driveway, and we bought it from him." I'm like, "Oh, he was just sitting in his driveway." Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So the guy was very nice, and a good pizza and all that stuff, and and it was cold. Don't get me wrong, it was cold for Charlotte people because they're not used to that weather. Because it was basically it was in the low 30s, but I had no problem. It was great. They had hot chocolate. They had games for people. They had the mascots running around. They had the ACC network doing their shows on the stage, and EJ Manuel was there, and Eric McLean, and all those people were there. And then the day of the game, it looked like there was more people outside waiting to get in to the stadium. And then it wasn't like a ruckus crowd, because I know last year when Florida State was there, it was kind of ruckus. Everybody was chanting in Knowles, the fight song. It was basically more like, this is the first time these two teams played each other, so they have no idea who they are. So it was one of those, like, when you go to an NFL game and you've never seen this team before, and you're like, okay, am I supposed to root for them, or give them hell or whatever? But it was a great. We got in, and the field when I went on the field, it was pretty cool. They had everybody warming up, and and running around and seeing different people, and running into the guy who's the ACC who does all the instant replays. Because I walked out the tunnel and he's like, "I know you. You sat in front of my meeting about the instant replay." I'm like, "Yes, I did." Yeah, I'm like, "Thanks." So. But I think I think Charlotte's a great place for it because it's like a center of everything.
Yeah.
Because yes, you have people in North Carolina like North Carolina could drive down from Chapel Hill, and you got Wake Forest, and you got those people, and then you got Clemson's only like 2 hours away from Clemson to Charlotte, and then you got in Georgia, you got 4 hours of Georgia Tech going up 85 if they make it. I think the only one that has a longer travel now is the teams in California. It used to be, you guys, Syracuse. Now it's California and Stanford making the long trip if they ever make it there. And I think it's a great venue. Hopefully the Panthers could update the facility a little bit better because it's getting a little bit, run down a little bit. Now it looks like they need to update them, make it look better, or maybe build a brand new one or something. But to me, it's a great place for start your Christmas season. They have everything's all Christmas decorated around town. You have the lights and all that stuff, and it was a good festive area. It's not bad.
Yeah, no, the ACC puts on a great show, and it's always a great time, and I appreciate what the ACC's doing. Appreciate SMU, Rhett Lashley, Dabo Sweeney of Clemson. Both talked to me about God, and I appreciate that more than anything else. So with that being said, I want to get into one other piece of this, but before I get into it, I got to give you some background. The North Carolina Tar Heels, I'm going to go all the way back to 2004 because we're in 2024. So I'm going to go back to the last 20 years. John Bunting was the coach of the Carolina Tar Heels football program back in 2004. The team went 6-6. Bunting went 5-6 after that and 3-9. Butch Davis took over in 2007, went 4-8, 8-5, 8-5, 8-5. Then Everett Withers had it for a season. He went 7-6 in 2011. Then Larry Fedora, who I got to spend a lot of time with, he in 2012 took over, went 8-4, 7-6, 6-7, 11-3. People forget about that season. 8-5, 3-9, 2-9. He was let go. And then Mac Brown unretired to come back to North Carolina after being at Texas and being on television. And Mac Attack went 7-6, 8-4, 6-7, 9-5, 8-5. And this year he went 6-6. So Freddie Kitchens is taking over for the bowl game. Mm-hmm. Now, your thoughts, and now we know that Bill Belichick is going to be the future head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. So my question to you, Chris, first and foremost is this whole notion Mac Brown is old. He's washed up. He doesn't get it. We don't want him here. Da-da-da-da-da. The man went 9-5 and 8-5 in his last two seasons before this season. He got him to a bowl game this season. Since he's come back to Chapel Hill, he's been bowl eligible in 1, 2, 4. He's been eligible in 5 out of 6 seasons since he's come back. So what is this thing that he's old, he's washed up, he doesn't get it, he's not our coach? The man's bowl eligible every single year, except for 1 year. The 1 year he wasn't bowl eligible, he was 1 game from being bowl eligible. He's been 8-5, he's been 9-5. What is it about Mac Brown that people felt like he wasn't good enough anymore?
I don't know. I think Mac Brown's still a great coach, but I guess he's getting up in age, and maybe he got tired of all the. Because you're Chapel Hill, and you're a basketball school, and everybody in the state, and you're the flagship school of the state. Because everybody, if you go around North Carolina, you go, okay, what's your college? Oh, North Carolina. Okay. And I think there's a lot more pressure being at North Carolina, and we're going to talk about this tonight on our show with a couple people we have on, and all that stuff. With Bill Belichick now going to North Carolina, how the heck is he going to keep these kids in line? Because you can't. In the NFL, you're the boss,
right?
And you can send any player packing. What are you going to tell an 18, 19-year-old? You're going to yell at them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And a lot of these players, a lot of these kids don't like people yelling at them because they come from a high school that they were the star player.
Yeah.
And they were, they had special privileges. And when they get to their college, they thought they were going to get the same thing, and now they're back down in the totem pole. And some of them can't. That's why you see a lot of them transfer a lot because they're not used to, they want to be the center of attention.
Yeah. So I mean, I think for the people that are highly touting the Bill Belichick hire, I mean, congratulations, you went with a younger man. He's 72, Mac Brown's 73. So for those that were saying Mac Brown's too old, but I love that Bill Belichick's the new head coach, I'm looking at this going, they're literally right 72, 73. I mean, in the ageism thing, that annoys me because there's guys like Nick Saban and Mac Brown and Bill Belichick and Dabo Sweeney that I feel like they coach as long as they want to coach. Joe Paterno, you coach as long as you want to coach. Jim Boeheim did it for a long time as well. And so I have a lot of respect. I mean, and he's in his 70s right now. People don't think he is, but he is. Rick Pitino. So there's these coaches that have been around forever and a day. I can't stand hearing they're too old. So to those people that are saying that Mac Brown was too old, my sarcastic response to you is congratulations on getting a younger leading man in Bill Belichick, who's a year younger. What are your thoughts on Bill Belichick going to the North Carolina Tar Heels?
Well, here's my question I'm asking you. He's best friends with Nick Saban. Would you call your best friend and say, hey, you want to do a Cleveland thing left over, 25 years later? And have, will Nick be an offensive coordinator for him? And then if you're looking for a defensive coordinator, how will you get Lawrence Taylor? He's a North Carolina grad.
Yeah.
And, he could be your defensive coordinator because he knows how to play deep. He was the man in the Meadowlands. And you just try, but it would be funny to see who he gets to be his coaches. And then you got Bill O'Brien up in at Boston College. I'm waiting for Boston College and North Carolina to play each other next year. It'll be the Patriot Bowl. That's what they're going to call it, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and there is the notion that he could be, opening this door for his son, Steve Belichick, and looking at maybe he's going to be the future. I'll come in, I'll coach for 2 or 3 years, and then I'm going to have my son take over here. Maybe that could be part of the deal for them. But we look at the age of collegiate coaches now, and Bill Belichick, when you look at how old these coaches are, for those that were disrespecting Mac Brown, Belichick is now the oldest coach in college football at 72. Kirk Ferentz of Iowa is 69. Casey Keeler at Temple is 65, who you just connected with. Kyle Whittingham of Utah is 65. And Willie Fritz of Houston, I spent a lot of time with, he's 64. Kurt Signetti of Indiana is 63. Brian Kelly of LSU is 63. Jim Mora of UConn is 63. Sam Pittman of Arkansas is 63. Jay Norvell of Colorado State is 61. So, I mean, Belichick's got most of these guys beat by a bunch of years here. And, but Danny won a bunch of Super Bowls. Yeah, and Mac Brown, think about what Mac did at Texas, what he did at North Carolina. But I guess for me, in being around Mac Brown and interviewing Mac Brown and talking to him off the air as well, I have a lot of respect for Mac. And I don't like the way that he was treated, especially early on in the season when they're like 5 games in, 4 games in. Just hearing people compare him to things that were really negative and stuff. And I just feel like Mac Brown has earned the right to go out when he wants to go out and go out in a nice parade, not to be like ignored or disrespected. And I feel like there was people in the college football world that were just talking about him poorly. And I want to say, Mac, if you ever get to see this, like, that's never going to come out of my mouth.
Yeah. I'm just looking at your schedule next year. Okay, this is Bill Belichick's first year at North Carolina. You got TCU coming to Chapel Hill on August 30th. Okay. Yeah. That's going to be a challenging game for him. First game out of the box. And then you got to take on Charlotte. Charlotte's still recovering. You got a new coach now. Then you got Richmond, who went from the CAA to the Patriot League now. And then looking at the rest of the schedule, and Adam talked to Dabo on Friday and asked Dabo, what do you think about Bill Belichick possibly being the head coach at North Carolina? And Dabo started laughing, going, "I have no comment about that. That's going to be pretty interesting there." Yeah. So, but Clemson comes to Chapel Hill next year, so that's going to be a really good game for people. That's going to probably be a primetime game, you know. And then you got road games at Central Florida. You got road games at California, NC State, and then I guess you may want to put this on your calendar. We don't know when this is going to happen, but you may want to go see him in Syracuse.
I'll be there.
Yeah. He's coming to your neck of the woods.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going up against Syracuse.
You what?
Dan's going to call Brooklyn Pickle up there, or whatever and give him the special treatment when he walks into Syracuse. Cater everything he does.
All I heard was Chris Heidel on Wake Up Call this morning say, "I was in Charlotte on Friday. I was in Charlotte on Saturday. They were closed on Sunday. How come I couldn't go to Brooklyn Pickle?" And I'm hearing that this is more of a you problem than it is a Brooklyn Pickle problem.
We were gonna do a Jay Leno thing, like Leno used to do, like go into a special establishment and go, "Hey Dan, how you doing, bud?" One of those. But I told Adam we'll do it another time.
Yeah.
But no, but I think having Bill Belichick in college in the ACC, you're going to get a lot more people who want to go to media day. Now the ACC kickoff is going to be when North Carolina's on the podium. If you're Kevin Davis for the ACC, you better have a better facility for North Carolina. Maybe go back to the Western, because that little ballroom we had at Hilton. I don't think that's going to hold every national media guy who wants to come ask Bill Belichick a question.
Yeah. Well, I want to get to this as a final point here. Here are the coaches of the ACC that now has 17 schools when it comes to college football, because, of course, Notre Dame is independent. You have Fran Brown at Syracuse, who is 9-3, trying to be 10-3 in his first season there, ranked in the college football playoff final rankings at 21. You have Tony Elliott at Virginia, who was formerly at Clemson. You have Troy Taylor at Stanford. You have Justin Wilcox at Cal, who's in a bowl game. You got Manny Diaz at Duke. And I told everybody that hire, arguably biggest splash hire that Duke has had in college in football, maybe ever, definitely in recent history. And I think people should be paying attention to the fact that Manny Diaz and Duke are going to do some good things. Brent, they finished in the top four.
Miami.
That was
a great game this year. And taking on Miami, that was a shootout. That was one of those. I think Miami stopped in the fourth quarter, but that defense. Duke was scoring, Miami was scoring, and I told people I thought it was going to be a shootout because Manny got fired the wrong way down there, and he brought it up during that whole week that he has no ill will against Miami. I know you do. Like I asked Coach Keeler the other day on the show, I was like, I know you have a little back in your mind and you want to take out Delaware, beat them pretty badly, because of what they did to you, and coaches don't want to admit to that because that's not something they want to put out in the papers. But I know for a fact that Coach Keeler probably wants to take Temple to Delaware or have Delaware come to Temple and pack that Lincoln Financial Field and start a rivalry, with them. That'll be good.
Yeah, always when you look at coaches that are going up against their former teams, players going up against their former teams, what Kyle McCord would do if he had Ohio State on the schedule, those games are ones that you circle. Brent Pry at Virginia Tech, he's doing some good things. Brent Key at Georgia Tech has played spoiler and done a lot of things in a short amount of time. Pat Narduzzi at Pitt has had himself in a very strong career there over a long period of time. One of the longest tenured coaches in the ACC. You got North Carolina with Bill Belichick now, as you mentioned. Rhett Lashley at SMU, who's been tremendous, and I'm happy that the ACC knows that now. Bill O'Brien and his storied history, and he's at Boston College. Mario Cristobal at Miami after being at Oregon. Dave Clawson and all the work he's done at Wake Forest. Dave Doran and everything he's done at NC State. Jeff Brom and his success at Louisville since coming back. And then Mike Norvell at Florida State, a tough year this year, but we'll see what they can do moving forward. He brings in former Syracuse defensive coordinator who went to Nebraska and is now with him, Tony White, and former head coach of UCF and of Auburn, Gus Malzahn, now his offensive coordinator. And then you got Dabo Swinney in Clemson. So this conference that has been known to have some really good coaches and some really good quarterbacks and some really good players, they once again continue to impress and do the unimaginable and have Bill Belichick come out of retirement and go to the North Carolina Tar Heels, which, by the way, he's not assuming this role after Larry Fedora's 2-9s and 3-9s. He's assuming this role after Mac Brown consistently is going to bowl games. So when people are like, why would he go to North Carolina? Because they're not that bad. It's the same thing with East Carolina. They fired Mike Houston, my guy, and they're in a bowl game. They fired him, and then they went on to win a bunch of games. Like, why some of these teams are like, this isn't good enough. 9 wins isn't good enough. 8 wins isn't good enough. North Carolina was a 2 to 3 win team before Mac Brown. And I just want people to remember that, yes, Bill Belichick is an incredible hire, but Mac Brown is not someone that should go quietly into the night.
Yeah, and I like Mike Houston. I met him at JMU when he was the coach at JMU, and and him and I had a good rapport with each other because he turned JMU from Mickey Matthews was the coach, and they went to a championship game in 2004 or whatever it was. But he put JMU on the map, and then Kurt Sigonelli came in and put him more on the map. And I really respect Kurt in Indiana because I saw him a lot in Harrisonburg, Virginia, the way he's talking to the media. He did the same thing that he did in Harrisonburg. And I still remember the day, Dan, when I met Kurt Sigonelli. He was the head coach at Elon. And here's this guy coming to the CAA Media Day.
Yeah.
We used to go downtown to the football stadium for the Ravens practice, play. And here comes this guy coming in, and I'm like thinking to myself, who's this Kurt Sigonelli guy? Okay. So I sat down with him, and he was like talking about, yes, I'm a disciple of Nick Saban. I'm thinking to myself, oh God, we got a firecracker here. Oh God, oh God,
yeah,
And he turned Elon around, and now Elon's playing really well in the CAA. So the guy is a winner, and with Bill Belichick coming in, the only thing I got, I put a polling question on my Twitter page. Right now, after it's only 7 votes, but right now people think he's going to win 5 or 7 games the next year. That's still a bowl. If you get 6 wins, you're bowl eligible.
Yeah.
And if you're a bowl site, and North Carolina becomes eligible, for a bowl game, you want Bill Belichick there. You get more people to come to your bowl game.
Yeah.
So the bowl people right now, people who are very happy now because they're like, ooh, if North Carolina makes it to a bowl game next year and they're 6-6, we're going to invite them to this bowl game, and you could bring people who are not North Carolina fans, they're Belichick fans, to a bowl game.
Well, shout out to North Carolina because North Carolina North will now be found in Foxborough. So we will definitely have a North Carolina North now with those Patriot fans that are going to assume their role as North Carolina fans. And here's the weird world, and this is how cool life is. Bill Belichick, Patriots head coach. Drake May, North Carolina quarterback. Drake May, Patriots starting quarterback. Bill Belichick, North Carolina head coach. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And did he draft May?
No.
No. Okay. I thought he drafted him before he retired.
No. So.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, this will be Bill Belichick now. No more North Carolina quarterbacks are ever going to New England. But we'll see.
So, Dan, before we go here, I can see him right now. I was kidding around with my coworkers last night. When you used to do that Cincinnati thing, we're on to Cincinnati. Yeah. He's going to go, we're on to Clemson.
Yeah.
We're on to Clemson.
You got to do it like he's. That's it. You can't understand what he's saying. We're on to Clemson. Sounds like this.
Well, I want to ask him one question down the ACC kickoff, sir. How many hoodies do you have in your closet? That's a question. Because you don't wear a suit and tie.
He loves that.
When he was a suit and tie, he looks like he's a little guy in the choir. Little the choir boys in the choir. Like, dude, this suit does not look like you, dude.
I want him to end his time at the podium at the ACC kickoff by saying one statement. We wear hoodies now in North Carolina. And then just walk away. That's what I want. We wear hoodies. And like the whole team shows up on the road, no suits. The whole team's wearing sweatpants and hoodies. And like that's his thing. And he makes it a thing and it becomes a craze. So we shall see.
It was like Michael Keaton when he was doing he was at the graduation from somebody. He goes, I have one more thing to say to you folks. I bet, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We wear hoodies in North Carolina now. That's what I hear from Bill Belichick. But with that being said, Bill Belichick is a Tar Heel now, believe it or not, folks. And SMU and Clemson are inside of the college football playoff. SMU will be playing in round 1, and so will Clemson, because Clemson was given the 5th seed, which means they still have to play. So Clemson will be facing off against Texas, and they'll be on the road against Texas. And then we will see SMU on the road against Penn State, as well as the first round will be home games for the home team. With that being said, Mr. Heidel, make sure everybody knows how they can get in touch with HerbFM before you go.
Well, we are doing a show tonight on our program, Sports Talk with Chris Heidel, at special time at 6 o'clock. We're going to preview the Army-Navy game, because I'm going there on Saturday for the Army-Navy game down here in D.C. or FedEx Field, where the Commanders, or you don't want to call them Redskins, used to play. And then we have Nelson Figueroa coming on from the Mets, because of that big signing the Mets did with Juan Soto this week. I think I saw Jimmy Fallon the other night making a joke about beer is going to cost $200, at the stadium, because they got to make up the money for Juan Soto and all that stuff. So we're going to get him on around 8:15 tonight to talk about what's his thing about Soto going to Queens, and the Yankees not paying that money, picking up all those pitchers. That's a smart way to doing it. My brother and I were talking about it last night. You don't spend a lot of money on Soto. You keep that money, and you could buy pitchers, and they're doing that right now in the winter meetings. It's going to be a very interesting show tonight. It's going to be on. You can watch it on YouTube. Just type in HerbFM Sports Radio on YouTube. You can watch it on Twitter at HerbFM on Twitter, Facebook HerbFM Sports Radio on Twitter, on Facebook. And Adam and myself and Matt Ciccinelli will be on the show tonight, and it's going to be a good show. Hopefully we'll talk. We're actually talking to an SMU broadcaster, on the show tonight. Scott. I think let's forget his name. Scott. Yeah, I got his name. Well, anyway, we're going to talk to him on the show, and then we're going to talk. There was a running back. He used to play for Iowa. He's on one of the broadcasts. We're going to talk a little Iowa, Miami, and the Pop-Tart Bowl. So it's going to be a very interesting show tonight. So tune in at 6 o'clock, and we'll be done before the 49ers and Rams play on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, so make sure you check it out. Look up HerbFM on all those wonderful channels, Facebook as well as X, the former Twitter, on YouTube, and make sure you're with them tonight for their broadcast. As always, Mr. Heidel, I appreciate you. I will be at the Army-Navy game as well. I'm covering the game, so...
Oh, cool. We'll run into you. We'll see you down there, buddy.
Yeah, I hope there's a Brooklyn pickle, and I hope you go. So, with that being, what'd you say?
Yeah, it'll be cool, and then I'll text you when I get there, and we'll hang out for during the game or something like that.
Yeah, excited to be down there. Have covered Army this season, and obviously appreciate them from afar, and I've been covering Navy for over a decade. So very excited for this Army-Navy game. Shout out to Jeff Monken and Brian Newberry. Both of my specials with them will be airing tomorrow morning during our wake-up call times. With that being said, Chris Heidel, HerbFM Sports Radio. I will talk with you soon. My best to Adam, Matt, and the team. And God bless tonight with your show, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully within a couple days.
All right, buddy. Have a safe trip down to the beautiful D.C. or Landover, Maryland.
You as well.
See you, buddy.
That comment from Chris Heidel here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here. We're going to take a step aside for our final fast break. We'll wrap it up right after this. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavocollis.com. That's myAVICOLLIS.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying. In the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. You'll find everything that you need, whether you've collected sports cards your whole life, trading cards your whole life, or if you're just getting started. GG Cards and Breaks is going to add to your collection or help you create a new hobby in your life. With hockey, baseball, basketball, football, soccer, and more, including Disney Lorcana, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, and Magic the Gathering, you will find boxes, packs, single cards, graded cards, autograph cards, potential one-on-one cards, numbered cards, relic cards, RPAs, which are rookie patch autos. They have cards that are signed by actors and actresses. So many amazing things at GG Cards and Breaks, and it can all be yours by going there today. 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, right off of Teal Ave. And of course, they are perfect for your Christmas and holiday shopping. You got a couple weeks to go here, folks. Head off to GG Cards and Breaks Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and on Sundays from 10 to 5 to find your next amazing gift or something to bring home for yourself today. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. I thank you so much for being a part of the show today. Cannot thank you enough for being with us Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We're going to have some awesome stuff coming up for you tomorrow, including my Q&A with Army Black Knights head coach Jeff Monken going into the Army-Navy game, and my conversation with the wonderful Brian Newberry of the Navy Midshipmen, their head coach, my Q&A with him coming up as well. So a lot of great stuff here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And ahead of that Army-Navy game, like I said, you'll hear from Army and you'll hear from Navy, their head coaches here on Wake Up Call, coming to you on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT. And, of course, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We're also with you on our internet streaming radio on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Want to thank you all for tuning in with us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. You can find all of our archives there by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. So make sure that you do that today. Subscribe, follow. It's free. And of course, shout out to Brooklyn Pickle, our proud partner down in Southern Pines, North Carolina, on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, right down the road from Pinehurst Golf Course, one of the greatest golf courses we have every single year in the world of professional golf. And so make sure that you head off to Pinehurst Golf Course and you head off to Brooklyn Pickle, which is open for you all throughout the week outside of Sunday. They do close for the Lord's Day. So you'll find them on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, Monday through Saturday. You can visit our team of partners in Central and Upstate New York by going to Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, servomation.com to learn about reinvigorating, reimagining, and just truly creating such a new world of vending. I had no idea that there was ever behind a vending machine that we would find a world of a massive kitchen, that we would find all of these varieties, quality of food, the technology that they have. Servomation has changed everything that I thought vending was, and you can find out more at servomation.com, including reaching out to them on how they can be at your school, your business, your college, your university, your rest stop, and more. Mother's Cupboard, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Ma and Pa's, GG Cards and Breaks, Great Lakes Honda City, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Brian's Landing, Pizza Man, and of course we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call. Find your Dolphins on Wednesdays during Dolphin Time. You will find your Lemoyne College Dolphins Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, exclusively right here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. And you can go to youtube.com /WakeUpCallDT to have over 3 years of material that we have there with the Lemoyne College Dolphins, with student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell on our YouTube channel, and find our Lemoyne playlist. The Dolphins are also on Wake Up Call, DT.com's homepage, and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LemoyneDolphins.com, and as always, Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats every single month. Here with student athletes, coaches, and administration, we feature your Bobcats of men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, baseball, and esports in what we call the Bobcat Buzz. You can find over 3 years of content with the Bobcats by going to our exclusive materials that we have for you on youtube.com /WakeUpCallDT. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, find the BSC Syracuse playlist. You also find the Bobcats on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every Tuesday during Bearcat Time at 10 a.m. Eastern Time worldwide, Tuesdays on Wake Up Call. Student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year. Moments with Marshall featuring Gene Marshall, the athletics director, and the Bearcat Break Room with student athletes, coaches, and administration. You can find all of our content by going to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. You'll also find the Bearcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank my incredible guests, Papa Joe and Chris Heidel of HerbFM Sports Talk here inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. I look forward to speaking with you later on and very soon. And you can find me all the time on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. And everything on there, including all of my conversations one-on-one with Syracuse Orange men's basketball, are up there for you from this week. So check them all out today. I look forward to talking with you soon. And as always, God bless, no stress, do your best. I cannot wait for this Army-Navy game and to share my Q&As with the head coach of Army, Jeff Monken, and Navy, Brian Newberry, as well as my quarterback sit-down conversation with Braxton Woodson. Check that out right now on YouTube at Wake Up Call DT, and you'll be able to see my Q&A with Jeff Monken and Brian Newberry tomorrow morning here on Wake Up Call.